What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Chaos Games page. We are going to break down episode number 1, season 1 of Yasawa Islands. We have Robbie here with McKenna Feeney and myself to talk about the episode a little bit, and then we are going to bring in the first person that was voted out of the game. Robbie, thanks so much for joining us. I know that you really enjoy watching these episodes and definitely have been heavily involved in playing games yourself. Now you get to talk about it from a viewer's perspective. So what are your thoughts on episode number 1?
I think the biggest thing is the production is amazing. And I know I kind of commented online about that a little bit, but how you guys start off showing the whole team, letting everybody do their introductions, how you have Alex doing the exit interviews and all that good stuff, get everybody around owning rooms, and it's a little well-oiled machine. And you can tell when that comes out in the edit, which is beautiful. I mean, the narrative is clear, the challenges are clear, and everybody is having a blast and having fun. So that was the first thing I noticed, was just how smooth everything was running, because that's not an easy thing to do for sure.
Yeah, big thanks to all our production team. Like, we couldn't have done it without them. Just trying to run it, Lauren and I would have been nuts. We had 3 different breakout rooms that people would scramble in, and one room for when the other tribe wasn't in tribal. We shoved them all in one room, and then once the losing tribe went to tribal council, they could all talk in whatever rooms separately from each other. So we had a lot of production members manning different rooms while Lauren and I were busy doing other things like tribal council. So
yeah, and then we had 2 people also helping us out with confessionals. They would get pulled, the players would, and then we had people kind of guiding the questions as they would out if you were on the actual show, which I think is super helpful, because then you're able to truly hear how people are feeling, because it's really difficult to know what to talk about. And if you have a pinpoint person asking you those leading questions, it's super helpful.
Well, and you see that in season 1 of an org that I played, a long game, where we didn't know what to do. We had a blast at the challenges. We had a blast, at tribal and all that stuff. But when it came to sending in the confessionals, it was kind of like a fend for yourself type deal, which is no fault of anybody. We were all learning as we were going. But you see it in the outcome here with the content and the confessionals, and how it also gives people an opportunity, because in a mini, different than a long game, is you don't have a chance to talk to people without everybody being there. So that's a huge mechanic that you guys added into this, is randomly people are going to get snagged. And I don't know if you guys did it randomly or if people could ask to do it.
It was all random. So
okay,
Alex
so
would
that's
message
the best part,
Carrie.
right?
Yeah, Alex would message Carrie and say, "Hey, I need blank." And Carrie would just move them, and they would be pulled from the conversation. Sometimes in the edit, you could actually see people just like leave, and the people in the room are like,
yeah,
all right.
Well, and you see that with eventually the people who don't do so well in the challenge, getting pulled out of the room and having everybody else sit there strategize against you, has got to be a rough feeling. So you want to give your answers really quickly, which also helps, right? Because when people are trying to answer your questions right away, they're probably going to be more honest than if they've got all the time in the world to try to craft some perfect answer that doesn't give away anything to anybody, but is also boring to watch. It's great because these people want to get it done, get in, get out, and get back to strategizing. So I like that. Now, question I have though, before they even came in, was the cast announced beforehand to folks, or was there much like pre-gaming and things that were obvious, or was it not the case?
I don't know, but like, we posted saying, "Hey, if people want to join the mini, message us." And so there might have been comments on that post being like, "I'm in, I want to play." So people might be able to infer.
Yeah.
So people might be able to infer.
Yeah, we did a good job at hiding it, I think, for this one in particular. I will say the one we have coming up, the season 2 on Saturday, February 27th, people have no idea who's on that cast.
Yeah, and the last mini that I played in was blind cast as well, where we showed up and you don't know who's in it until the Zoom call comes up. It's actually a messenger that has the Zoom link in it. And you see, oh my God, there's, 18 people in this message, and you're just reading down the names like, I don't know anybody.
I think it's better just having a blind cast, because pregame messes with everything. So if you don't know who you're going to be working with, you have to play Survivor and not play your friends. Like it makes it a lot more of a genuine game to try and pregame, to not have a pregame.
That's a great point. And also, I think with this one in particular, once everyone joined the Zoom, we had so many people on production that no one knew who was in the game until we let production introduce themselves. So you're seeing people on the screen and you're thinking, oh, are they with me? Are they in the game? And then you come to find out, no, they're on production. Those are the actual players.
Yeah, you had 7 other people on like video open. It's more than a whole other tribe worth of people sitting there just to throw a curveball at everybody.
Like you see Carrie and Karen there, and you're like, oh my gosh, am I going to have to deal with 2 best friends in a game? But then you realize, okay, great, Carrie's on production and it's Karen playing the game. So that's also, an interesting aspect of, oh crap, is who all here is playing. But you see the opening twist of the schoolyard pick that doesn't really matter. What were your thoughts on that, Robbie?
I loved it. I think it's a hilarious way to try to get people in a mini. You don't have time to really make decisions. It's all about just influencing people and then hoping that you made the right split second choice. So making them all have a split second choice to build a tribe, or what they think was going to be a tribe. Once again, they don't have time to think about it, so they might be more honest. And when you're pushed up against the wall to say, okay, am I going to pick someone random so that way it doesn't look like I have any allies, or am I going to pick someone who might save me? I bet you a lot of people picked people who might save them, because safety is huge in these quick games, right?
Well, let's just take the first on Phil's tribe. Phill picks Jeremy, which we know, if you had watched TRHS versus the Specialists, both Phill and Jeremy were on the Specialist tribe and made it to the merge together. And then Jeremy goes and picks Annie, who has no relation to him. So there's just the difference in mentality of Phill, where, like you were saying, oh, he might save me. And then Jeremy of, maybe I can make a new relationship and a new ally.
Yeah, exactly. Now, at this point, were people communicating on Messenger? I'm assuming some people were frantically typing, or was it against the rules at that point, or what was it kind of flexible?
We I guess did not specify enough for like Messenger rules, which was our bad. But yes, people were messaging at this point, because you might see in like later episodes saying, oh, we agreed to pick each other in the schoolyard pick, so let's try and work together at merge. So like that might come up. So we weren't as specific as we should have been, but they were trying to scramble, like, oh, you look cool, pick me.
I mean, when they're on the island, they whisper to each other when they're sitting beside each other at tribal, so
yeah, exactly.
It is what it is. It's harder for production to do your job when things are hidden in text messages, I guess.
Yes.
Well, that's exactly why we did what we did in terms of having the confessionals, having the scramble rooms, because you see in other types of orgs, what they do is they have people just messaging back and forth, and you're not getting the face-to-face contact with other people, getting to see how they're actually truly thinking. Because if we're just going based off Messenger, us as a production team have no idea how people truly are feeling in the game.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And it's interesting too, because you look at the draft that they did, you had Austin, I got a couple of notes. You had Austin picked Nick, who picked David. And for some of us who are only used to seeing some of the games, the minis and whatnot that have been in these local groups, folks like Karen and Ryan and Corey that are relatively popular names in that community went quite a few picks before getting snagged. So it leads to believe, or at least to assume, that some of these people might know each other from other areas or from other minis maybe, or just from other projects, which is entertaining to watch, because I don't know anything that happens in this season. So when I saw that draft order, I was like, okay, this is going to be good, because these people might know each other, they might not, and that leads to a lot of drama, because will they vote out people they know, or is it just truly random? Nobody knows each other. So I'm excited.
Yes.
And then we get the
Done.
tribes. And so initial reaction from you, Robbie, on how we decided to split up the tribes, because we created those prior to the game.
Yeah. And, at this point, I think it's just luck of the draw. I don't know if you guys did a lot of manual manipulation, and that could be a production secret if that's the case. But at this point in a mini, you don't have time to really analyze. It's just try to win the challenge.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, win it. I don't care who's on my tribe. We need to win.
We tried to split it up as much as we could. So like Jeremy and Karen did play on season 2 together, but they weren't on the same tribe, and they were also part of what Karen was TRHS, Jeremy was specialist. Corey was kind of the conflict of interest a little bit there. We also wanted to split up anybody who was NSFW as much as we could, who might have slight relations. So we have Phill on the other tribe, and Phill also has participated in some trivia games that my friend Nick, who is in the season, has hosted. So we wanted to split that up. So we wanted to, as much as possible, anybody who had any relation to each other, opposite tribes.
Yeah. And we did the best that we could with it, just based on the cast that we had for that season in particular.
Yeah, which shows after you describe that. I mean, it's pretty clear. But every time I look at this, I keep thinking of the Annie and she calls him Dave. I don't know if he wants to go by Dave or David.
I call him David. So
okay, so David. I call him Dr. Will. I can't help it. Like the guy came up on the screen. And I was like, this is Dr. Will 2.0. The charisma, everything, the confessionals is hilarious. First one to talk, trying to crack the jokes, but then he's thinking in the background. Yeah.
So that was our only thing with Annie and David, is one of the people that we had overslept and was not, like, it wasn't there. And so we needed to scramble and get that next person. So we really just needed a person to fill that spot. Lauren messaged David and was like, do you have anybody?
I said, do you have any friends? Because here's the thing, David and I actually played in an org with each other, and I was essentially messaging him saying, can we get anyone from that? And he said, I have a friend, she's great, loves Survivor. So this is the first time Annie's actually ever played in an org before.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
So she was last minute, like at 11 o'clock was on and cast that. So that was the only like pregame thing that we couldn't really avoid.
Which makes it tricky for challenges, because does she have everything she needs for challenges? Maybe we'll see. I don't know. I guess I don't know this stuff, right? But that's the first thing I think of is like, oh crap. And also keep her as long as you can, because maybe she won't have what she needs. And
right.
Good strategy.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's time to have our eliminated Castaway join us, and Robbie, you can ask him as many questions as you want. We also have questions submitted on our Facebook group that people wanted to ask him as well.
Come on in.
All right, Keaton, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
So you were the first boot of Chaos Games Season 1. Sorry to see you go so early. We kind of wanted to see you and Austin interact, because as we saw in your exit confessional, you're brothers.
Yeah. Never got the chance.
My main question is, if you did get the chance, would you have gone for him right away and voted him out?
I told him from the start, I said, if we get to anywhere together, I'm voting you out right away. It's the same. It's the same thing Ian and I have planned out if we ever play together, that we would vote each other out.
Which is the only thing you can say in an interview like this, because if you don't, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So, whether it's true or it's not, it's the right thing to say. I got a question for you though. I don't follow enough of this stuff. I watch as much as I can, but there's too much to catch everything. I don't know how many minis or long games have you played in before?
I played in one mini before this one. I came in third, tied for second with one vote, and it never got posted, so no one knows that I ever played.
Okay, and no long games or anything like that?
I know long games.
Got you. Because you made a comment at one point about how your strength was being able to manipulate people to vote, the way that you wanted to, and it seemed extremely confident when you said that. And I assumed that you had played a couple more matches than that. I was just curious.
Oh, yeah. The one mini I played, I was as awful I was in challenges as I was in the performance you just saw, episode 1, and I made it to the end with Cam, Alex, and Jim, and just because I was able to get the alliance to vote people out that I thought were threats.
So we kind of skipped over the challenge portion of the show a second ago. You clearly struggled a little bit, you could say, with flipping a cup. Now you made a comment a couple times about, you don't drink a lot. You don't, you're not an alcoholic, I think is the word that you used. And that hinders it. Now, those of us in the world that don't drink, can still flip a cup. Is it not something that you tried beforehand, a little bit of practice, or was that more in jest, like joking around when you were saying that?
I mean, knowing some of the people that played, it looked like they've played a couple games of flip cup before, and
fair.
I think I've spent my probably 3 times at a party that involved me ever having to play flip cup. And I just did. It's not something I would practice freely.
Was it more of a nerves thing though? Like once you start flipping a couple times and it doesn't work, and you've got 20 people there watching you.
I'm looking at my table. The table I used was like curved down on the edge, so I was like sitting there thinking, I'm like, I'm never really gonna get like a flat flip. I'm gonna have to like hit the edge of my table every time I flip my cup. I mean, it's not something I'm good at.
The only thing that confused me just a little bit is you just didn't have that touch. I'm telling you, Keaton, sometimes it just, you flung it up and it went flying. Did you think about just doing just a simple with 2 fingers and just trying to, delicately push it over?
I think every time I got it laid down enough so I could flip it, I had to either hit it really fast so it would not fall off my table before I got the chance. But I'm not gonna complain about my
You know
table.
what though? I'll put a lot of weight behind that too. I've tried flip cup with the table that was in the room with me, and the next challenge I had to move another table in because I couldn't flip a cup to save my life because it had a little rounded edge, like you were saying. And every time you try to get under it, I mean, that said, you were pretty aggressive with how hard you were throwing the thing, but it's not easy to flip a cup with a rounded edge table. So that's not an excuse. That's a legit explanation for some of it, at least.
So Keaton needs to have an opportunity to prove himself on a different table in front of everyone to show us what he's made of and get to retry the flip cup.
I'll go with no. I tried today, and once I saw Alex's message, she's like, have you looked at red solo cups differently? I have tons of them laying around from our mini. The first mini I played, I picked them up today and tried. No different.
No difference.
No different. I said, well, I'm just done.
Well, so we saw your tribe end up losing and needing to go to tribal council. We saw you wanting to work with Phill and Ryan. How did that come about, and who were you going to try and gain to try be on your side to vote Annie?
Well, I was trying to work with Phill and Ryan mainly because I knew them from Ian's big game, and I just knew if I could get people that he knew that they would be willing to work with me just because he's my brother. And I was just trying to get them to vote Annie out. And I think Carla, I didn't think I could pull Carla or Annie because I was trying to get her out. And Dave just did not seem like he was a fan of me really at all. So it was probably going to end up coming down to 3-3 off the bat, which is never going to go the way of what I would like. So no one's going to want to vote 3-3 to start the show off.
So what kind
Makes
of
sense.
Hail Marys did you throw out there when it comes to reasons to keep you apart from your connection? Because I see at Tribal, you mentioned it, but I mean, during the social round, like before the actual voting portion and questioning happened, were you trying to build on that fact with folks other than, like, did you reach out to Carlo at all? Anything like that? Or did you have anybody else reach out for you? You know what I mean?
I
Like,
reached out to Ryan and Phill and was trying to get to see if they would join the breakout room with me. Phill never responded to me, and I finally got Ryan to join a breakout room with me. And I was like, well, if Phill ain't come, there's no point in me even reaching out to no one else who's gonna want to work. There's nowhere I can go.
Do you think you should have maybe not gone for Annie and tried to work with her instead?
Well, I didn't know going in that she was friends with Dave, if I'm correct, but there was probably not. I don't know why she would want to work with me if I was the worst, and she was she was the second worst person on our tribe, where she would want to try and get someone that's going to keep her around longer than one who's an easy target first day.
So how much time did you guys have though? Like how much time, what was it, 5-10 minutes, kind of like 20 minutes, like ballpark? How much time did you?
I'd probably say 5 to probably 10.
Yeah, roughly 10, because kind of how we structure the way this works is Alex is doing everyone's confessionals while everyone's scrambling. So you'll get randomly pulled into Alex, and once Alex is done asking everyone on the tribe questions and confessionals, tribal council. So
Gotcha.
It's however long people taking confessionals, and that's how long you have to scramble.
Because it's easy for us armchair quarterbacks to sit back and be like, listen, why didn't you go? Like the first thing I'm thinking of is, why don't you try to get Carlos to throw his vote on anybody? And then you, Phill, and Ryan have 3, right? Versus the 2 remainders, right? Just try to get them voting
3-2-1.
Not, yeah, or just like, exactly. But once again, you've got 10 minutes, probably 30 seconds with Ryan in the room. Ryan probably sits there and says, yeah, I got you. And then leaves, and that's all you got to work with. And a mini is compared to a long game. You don't have time to get fancy, right?
Yeah.
And with the first vote, like, everybody's just trying to be safe. So once they feel safe that everyone agrees on you, you're kind of SOL.
Man, the other mini I played, you just texted them who you wanted to break out of a room, and they would just pull you in there. It wasn't like the other person was saying yes to join you. You just got pulled in. So it's a lot different having to try and force people to come in.
Yeah, so we had 3 breakout rooms that people could use, and then you could see who's in what breakout room.
Yep.
So I could see that Lauren and Robbie are talking in the first breakout room.
Okay.
So I want to know what they're talking about, and I'm gonna pop in, and then the conversation stops because I'm in the room with you now.
Well, and that cuts the legs out from Keaton in the first episode, because like, who wants to throw their name out there to be like, yeah, I'll go privately meet with Keaton, and, like, you know what I mean, like that they're next.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like if somebody wants to, like, it's kind of hard to do that. Yeah. Okay.
And also they lost the first challenge, so you don't really have time to make the connections. Like, say Toa, the other tribe who won, they now have the entire scramble and tribal council to talk to each other, get to know each other, form different relationships. They only had the challenge kind of to base things off of. So if Keaton maybe performed in that challenge, he might have still been in the game. So they had any reason to vote someone out where it's not like relationship based.
Yeah.
Easy vote.
Well, and I think we got to give a lot of credit to this too. Like, yeah, Keaton didn't do the greatest in the challenge, but the reason why that was such a huge deal was because Jeremy was bang on with his, what everyone call it, eliminations, right? If Jeremy would have just said like, Keaton,
Yeah.
Right? Like if he just would have panicked and picked someone not to play,
He would have been happy.
would have made Keaton's day,
God.
and he probably would have went home if she was the next worst. But you know, the whole show would have been different. That whole episode would have been different. This is one of those woulda, coulda, shouldas, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
Jeremy nailed it with the eliminations. That was
I was in the breakout room with that tribe. I was kind of like their tribe leader, and their strategy was either put Jeremy first or last so he can watch the entire challenge.
Yeah.
So they had him as the anchor because he anchored the long game as well when he played Flip Cup. So they had him easily able to watch who was performing well and who wasn't.
Yeah, and he's really good at Flip Cup too. So he was a huge asset for his tribe because he could always finish it off pretty quickly. And then, as McKenna said, he was able to watch and know who was the worst. And he, time and time again, just kept the worst people in for the other tribe.
Yeah, which is the right strategy. And it's hard when you watch it. You don't know how much breakout room chat they have going on, but that's a massive advantage when you have a second to talk and you come up with a good strategy to go into it. You know what I mean? So that's,
and they just kept
a
their
solid
same
gameplay.
order. Yeah, they just kept their same order going. It wasn't broken, don't fix it. And just, it was barely any time to that they were talking in the breakout rooms.
So,
so
Keaton,
did they have a breakout between every elimination? They had another,
because Keaton's tribe can reorder their
okay.
Yeah.
their people. So we went back and we separated between every round, and I would ask them, do you want to keep the same order? They kept saying yes, and that was essentially it. But there was no strategizing saying, hey Jeremy, take out blank this round. Like that wasn't allowed. It was solely only Jeremy's decision.
Yeah, because he was the speaker essentially. But Keaton, I have a couple questions. One serious, one not so serious. That I just pulled because I thought it was pretty good. So Alex Trias wants to know: was there anyone you wish was on the season that could have helped you stay in the game longer potentially?
Yes, he himself would be my person. The person I tried voting out every time in my mini was the same person who worked with me the entire game.
Perfect.
My mini.
So, and this is my next question. When you did show up with the game starting, did you think he was on the cast because you saw his picture there?
From talking with Ian about who the people producing it was, I didn't think he was, because I think I asked him probably the day before if he was, because I kept seeing him in there like liking stuff, and I was like, if he's in there, I have a chance to at least make a run. But if he's on the producer side, there's not many people here I know.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
which
Robbie,
is an advantage and a disadvantage, right? I suppose, because having people not know you can help sometimes too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends, because previous relationships, they could have ended poorly in other games. And then you have that trust issue, whether I can work with them or not work with them. And Keaton, you just said, didn't you try and vote out Alex time and time again?
yes, he was also part of our four-man alliance that was a roller coaster of an alliance that always wanted to turn on each other.
Perfect.
the best kind of alliance.
Yes.
Oh, it was.
And then
right.
You have another question?
Yes, I do. Okay, from Josh Blake. Do you think you will play more drinking games before playing any other org to prepare yourself?
If you have any ideas, Josh, sure, I'll practice.
I'll tell Josh to comment on which specific drinking games he suggests.
Whatever drinking games he thinks I should play, I'll do.
I have,
without the drinking.
Right. I have one last question. We saw right in the beginning when you were nominating your speaker, the other tribe was like, we don't know. Let's just go to a wheel. But Keaton, you spoke up and we're just like, you know what, Phill, you should do it. Let's Phill, come on. And then everyone's like, all right, yeah, Phill, great. So what was your thought process on like putting Phill as the speaker and like speaking up to actually voice someone to be the speaker?
I thought of Phill from his experience playing the game, that he would be a good person to put up, that he knows some of the people on the other team, and that if it's someone that I can align myself with later, in which I plan to, it would have been beneficial for me to have me nominate him as our speaker if he did well.
Awesome. Robbie, do you have any last questions?
Nothing. I guess one comment, I suppose. One of the takeaways that I had here, and I'm curious if Keaton had picked up on it as well, was when Annie was asked the question about, do you think the draft order, when you guys did your original draft, it didn't really matter. Do you think that was a tell? Did that give anything away? Did you guys find it as obvious when you were there as the viewers do now that David couldn't keep his emotions in check at all when she was answering the question? Like, David beforehand was sitting there like just emotionless, right? Like kind of blank. And then the second that Annie is answering the question, he's smiling and nodding and agreeing, almost like laughter about was there a joke that was edited out there?
So originally Annie,
because it looks like it's a horrible tell, but nobody says anything about it.
Oh, that'll be there. We'll have a bloopers episode, so that will be included in the bloopers episode probably.
Annie picked me to be on the tribe, and we had to let her know that she was the host, that I was the host. So then in tribal
when Corey was like,
council,
"Yeah, I haven't been drafted yet," and then she's like, "Okay, Corey."
Yeah.
So she originally drafted me, and then during tribal council, she said like, "Well, I originally drafted the host." And so we cut that bit out. So there was kind of laughter. So yeah,
it's just a coincidence
David.
then, because it looks like he's just like, "Oh, they don't know about us."
Yeah. No. There was a joke.
Gotcha. But no, I mean, I had nothing. I think Keaton's play when he threw Phil's name out, I marked that down on my notes as being awesome because it worked, and Ryan jumped all over it right away. And if the challenge went horribly and it wasn't Keaton's fault, that Phill would have been a name that people have heard, and you can either use it to build an alliance or throw him under the bus kind of deal. I thought that was great. But flipping a cup.
All right, Lauren, take us home.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Keaton, do you have any final words? Do you plan on playing any of these games again, or what's your thoughts?
I'm waiting for the blood versus water. I'm still waiting for that when E and I can play together. That's about it. My final comment, my comment about tribal council about knowing people was to hopefully scare people into, if they voted me out, the people I knew would hopefully come for them.
Alrighty.
Love it.
I wanted Jeremy on my team. That's about it. When I could have trusted.
Thanks so much, Keaton, for joining us tonight. Episode number 2 will be dropping in the page tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then sometime this weekend, we will be interviewing the second person that was voted out of the game. Thanks so much, Robbie, McKenna, Keaton. This was a great time and looking forward to doing more of these. You guys take care. Have a good night.